Well, my last video was kind of a downer about Harley Davidson, so I thought, well, I'll do something more positive this time. Well, what could be more positive than going on a ride on your brand new motorcycle? And this is my new T120. I've had it for about, I guess, 2-3 weeks now. And I thought what I'd do is I'd sit down on it and go over a few things that I really like about it, and we'd go for a little ride. So let's do that. The first thing I like about this bike is that it has mid-control foot pegs, mid-controls. And that makes it easier to mount, because what you can do is you can stand on the left peg, grip the front brake, stand up, and swing over. And you don't have to stand on the ground and try to swing your leg over the seat. The next thing I like is the key is up top, not hidden under the tank or somewhere back here in the side cover. That's a good design. I've always thought that was a good design. We also have dual clocks. It's fuel injected, so they're going to spin as we go. You have a neutral light and a lot of other key issues. Now on Triumphs, you have to pull the clutch in, which kind of is a good idea, because how many times have you tried to start about, you hit the starter buttons in first and it pulls out underneath you. It has a gear indicator, that's good. And of course the ABS light flashes until everything's ready to go. Let's pull forward here just a little bit and we'll go over some of the controls, okay? Now on the right handlebar we have the hazard lights, which I like. That's a feature I like. Click them on, they both blink. Click them off, it's simple. The next button is your mode button. That'll switch from rain to road. And this button here, 3-function button, takes a little bit to get used to. Down is start, and up is your kill switch, and in the middle it's run. Over on the left handlebar, you've got your information button, which changes the display. That's pretty good. You got your left and right turn signal, but these are not self-canceling turn signals. You have to push them in. If anybody out there has a source for a self-canceling turn signal module that you can just plug in, hey, hit me up in the comments. I'd like to know that. Your cruise control, which works great, used it the other day, and your horn, which is the most anemic horn I've ever heard. Why can't manufacturers put a decent horn on a motorcycle? I mean, think about it. You got these guys in cars, their windows are rolled up, the air conditioner's blowing full blast, and they got AC, DC on the stereo. You think they're going to hear that? Another feature you get on this bike are these adjustable front brake lever and clutch lever. And, you know, it's not a bad feature. I mean, I guess it is nice to be able to adjust where your clutch is. But honestly, I'd have traded those for a self-canceling turn signals. I think it'd be I think the self-canceling turn signals will be a lot more valuable than the adjustable levers. Now let's talk about these mirrors. A lot of people put bar-end mirrors on the bikes. I tell you, I've had bar-end mirrors on my Norton, and I couldn't see out of the damn things. I like the regular mirrors. Now these are good mirrors. They're good and clear. They don't vibrate, but they're not high enough to get past your shoulder. Now Harley comes up with the same problem, and they have an extension that you can buy from the Harley shop and raise the mirrors up, and it allows you to see behind you. If anybody knows of something like that for these mirrors, would you please let me know in the comments. Nothing beats a new bike on a Sunday afternoon ride, huh? Particularly when there's not a bunch of traffic. Now let's talk a little bit about the engine and the power delivery. This is a small motorcycle as compared to a Harley-Davidson Tour Glide or something like that, or the big Yamahas or the big Kawasaki's. But it has a lot of power since it's got a 1200cc engine. So it's not lacking for power. As I've said before, this is a conventional motorcycle, what we used to call a roadster. It handles good. Power supply is great. Shifts good. So I can't complain about the engine. It's water cooled, so you've got a little bit better distribution of heat. It does get warm, you can feel it. But overall, I'd have to say the engine is a big positive. I give that a thumbs up. Big thumbs up for the engine and the drivetrain. Now let's talk about front brakes for a minute. Dual disc Brembos with ABS. I'd have to say that these Brembos are some of the most powerful brakes I've ever had on a motorcycle. And just thank God there's an ABS, because I believe that the front brakes are powerful enough to actually lock the front wheel up if you weren't watching what you were doing. Of course, with ABS you can't do that. Now let's look at the tank. The tank holds an adequate amount of fuel to go 150 plus miles. It gives you a trip meter and a mileage countdown. So I've got 83 miles left in this tank. In the old days, you simply set the trip meter and you watched it and figured out, okay, I normally use X number of gallons to go so many miles, and when that number of miles rolled up on the trip meter, you had to start looking for a gas station. So that's a piece of technology that's a little bit improved over the traditional. That's quite improved over the years. Of course, there's no petcock, so you don't have to turn the gas on and off. It's all fuel injected. Fuel injected bike, and there's no choke. You just turn the key and start it. A lot of people like that. Now the seat. Seat is firm. It's low. I can actually flat foot the seat. I've got a 28-inch inseam, and I can put both feet flat on the ground, which is kind of surprising. I also can stand up on the pegs when we go over those rough spots. It just purrs along, purrs along. Got to pull into the parking lot here. I got to check my airbag vest to make sure I got it hooked up. I'll be honest with you, I never get on a motorcycle anymore without an airbag vest, but I'm bad about not hooking it up to the lanyard. Let me see if I've done that. I'm going to put the kickstand down, and one of the challenges I have on this bike is it's hard to find the kickstand because it doesn't, the little knob that holds the kickstand doesn't stick out far enough. Yeah, sure enough, I forgot to hook up. Shame on me. That airbag's not going to do you any good without the lanyard. There we go. Now we're safe. Now you might say, oh, I'd never wear one of them stupid airbags. They're a pain in the ass. Well, folks, you know, that's what we used to say about helmets back in the day. But there's two things that's happened in this old world that really make the airbag a valuable addition to any older rider's riding gear. Yeah, that's it. I didn't even see it. Point. Always point at them. That'll get their attention. First thing is exactly what we just saw. Drivers aren't paying attention. They're screwing with the nav system, or they're playing with their phone, or no telling what they're doing. And they will pull out in front of you. They'll turn left in front of you. And that's not good. So you've got to have a little extra protection. Second issue that's changed is we're older. You know, I'm 70 and I'm not bulletproof anymore. And if I have an accident and I have sustained injuries, let me stand up. Ooh, there we go. I'm not going to bounce back from that. In fact, I'm going to have a hard time coming back from a serious injury. So, not only do I always wear my helmet, but I also always wear my airbag vest. And here's another problem. Look at this guy. He's mowing the grass and he's putting his grass out onto the street. That's a hazard right there. That shit's as slippery as greased owl shit. Okay, now I'll quit being negative. I'm going to go back to try and be positive. What I like about this bike is it's easy to ride. A lot of people have actually made videos saying, well, this would be a good beginner's bike. And you know, I can see the point. You get on it, you push the button, it goes, you know. It's not hard to ride this. Actually, it's fairly comfortable. It does have a chain final drive, but it's a O-ring chain, so we should get pretty good service out of it. It has wire wheels because you want the old traditional look. And they are pretty wheels. They're nice. The only downside is you're carrying a tube tire. So, you know, in the end, when you think about it, the T120, is it perfect? Well, it certainly is good enough to go do what you want to do. Could there be some upgrades? Yeah, any bike can get upgrades and minor changes to make it an even better bike. But overall, on a scale of 0 to 10, with 10 being the ultimate bike, I'd have to say the Triumph T120 is very close to 9.6, 9.7. With only minor things that would help it be better, but certainly they don't distract from the function of the bike or the operation of the bike. My problem is I live in an area where all the roads are straight and there's really no twistings to ride on. Yeah, you got some curves, but there are all these really harsh curves. You got to be real careful because you don't know if there's sand or somebody mowed their grass and threw grass out on the road. So you can't go blasting through the curves like they're not there. Now I've got the stock mufflers on it. I think it sounds good. I've had loud bikes, and to tell you the truth, I don't think I want another loud bike. I've had enough of that. So to me, the mufflers are right. So what's right about the bike? Seat height, ease of operation, sound, reliability, gas mileage. This thing gets 50 miles to the gallon, and some people say they'll get even more. Affordability. If I was going to go into the Harley Davidson shop and buy an equivalent bike, which of course would be one of the new Sportsters, you're looking upwards of 18 grand, and they go all the way over to 20. Even though the Triumph has some cost-cutting measures in it. You know, the Triumph has a few cost-cutting measures in it. You can see where they've built things to a price point. But still, these are much more reasonably priced. And we happen to have a really good Triumph shop in our area. I always like the bikes with the dual clocks, speedometer, tachometer. A lot of the bikes nowadays, all they have is a speedometer. And if they're a cruiser bike and you're listening to the engine, I mean, yeah, you can make a case that you don't really need a tach. But I like to have a tach. I grew up with dual clocks. You know, it's a comfort thing. Shifts are positive. Let's stop at the stop sign. There you go. Perfect one-point stop. Sand right there. A lot of dirt and sand on the roads lately. Okay, now one of the advantages of these mid pegs is you can stand up on the bike and get off. Just make sure you're holding the front brake lever. Well, let's go around and have a little tour of what the bike looks like. Aftermarket bags. One thing, it's nice and shiny. There's the chain drive. Pretty bike.